This is Maimer Sheni, the second Maimer, Kedoshim to you. The Sur Meirah. Kedusha, as it relates to staying away from the Ra. In the second paragraph in Kuf Yud Beis. Vad kama shechazal lechmiru bazeh. As much as Chazal were very severe regarding this whole area of Kedusha, Od yoser hechmiru b'inyane Kedusha v'Tahara b'Taharas HaChassidus. Even more so is the whole subject of Kedusha and Tahara he treated with greater seriousness in the derech of Chassidus. They saw in this matter sort of the vision for everything. Hayos v'Chassidus benuya al hayesod ki taryag mitzvos hem taryag eitzos eich lahagia levoset ba. Chassidus, the path, is built on the teaching of the Zohar HaKadosh that the taryag mitzvos are taryag eitzos. Taryag means of how to attain the dveikos. There's not only as seeing the mitzvos as being Hashem's command, as how we are supposed to live, and each time we do the mitzvah, we are heeding His call, but each mitzvah is its own way, its own medium, how to achieve dveikos. That's the derech of Chassidus, and puts at its dagesh, its emphasis, the attainment of dveikos, attachment. While a person is living in this world, that they should attain dveikos, an attachment to Hashem Yisbarach. V'ein davar shemarchik Yehudi me'aviv shebashamayim. There is nothing that distances a Jew to his Father in heaven, kemo pegamim halalu, like these damages. Shal yadam naasin mesachim u'mechitzas mavdilos. Through them, a person creates barriers, walls that divide between he and Hashem. Shelo yargish es kirvas elokusa yisbarach. Is unable to feel closeness of Hashem. So based upon what we explained yesterday, that I was discussing on Shabbos, we could understand this better, because this whole area of Kedusha in the person is the sphera called Yesod. And as we explained from Ablei B'la Eger, that Yesod is the Hiskashrus Mashpio Makabel. It's where the giver and the receiver bond. It's the place of unity and connection. So if a person will use the Midas HaYesod for those things improper, so his Hiskashos, his place of bonding, and where he's Niskasher, he's connected up with, is something other than Hashem. And therefore, when it comes to his Yachas, his relationship to Hashem, he doesn't have his Hiskashos there. He won't find himself being bound up with Hashem, because his Hiskashos is in other things. So therefore, Yesod, the foundation, is called the foundation, because this is where the person is most intimately bound up with. So therefore, if a person will be matame themselves, they're not going to be margish kirvas elokim. They're not going to feel the closest to Hashem, because they don't have that hiskashrus to Him. It's to other things. Therefore, gam hayetzara nosein la'adam sheyachmer berov chumros v'dikdukim b'inyanim acherim. Therefore, the yetzer allows the person to be very serious and very stringent and very particular in other matters. So the yetzer is okay if a person is firm in other things. Provided that the person doesn't take serious this whole area of Kedusha. Ha-yesod ha-ruchani shel Yehudi, which is the spiritual foundation of the Jew. Shal yidei zeh atofes eskula, because through it the person is completely, he's grasped by, and therefore, if the Yetzer is able to seduce the person into thinking this is not so serious, so they have a erosion in the midah of yesod. Okay, Gimel. Being that this midah is the hinge, the central hinge of the spiritual life. Harikol kama shamidas habihirus meira eine Yehudi bedarko betara avodas Hashem. In as much as the midah of bihirus, clarity, is illuminating the derech of a Jew in Torah and Avodah, u'misalekas mimenu hasivuchim hanafshiyim, and removes from him spiritual confusions. Kol shekein v'kal v'chomer, all the more so. Shetzarech ha'adam lirchosh bihirus, as a person needs to inherit, to acquire this quality of behirus, of clarity, b'chol hashayach l'midah zu, everything that pertains to this midah. So behirus means to be illuminated, to be clear in one's avodas Hashem. What this is and what the implications are, and what the consequences are of something is a very necessary midah in avodas Hashem, and all the more so when it comes to kedusha, where things can get very murky, as the Rebbe will explain. We have in this subject of kedusha a lot of contradictions and a lot of confusions. Therefore, all who want to enter into the gate of kedusha must have clarity in this area of kedusha. So first, the Rebbe is going to be speaking here about being motzi zera levatala. And that's what he said without saying it directly, and the different circumstances of hotza zera levatala, where a person spills seed. Reishus yeda lahavchen ulahavdil bein hanasa bezadon lebein inyane ones uvein inyane shkagas. A person first must be able to distinguish between that which is done on purpose to that which is done beyond his control, and that which might be something a shogeg, an unintentional doing. Sheyesh bahem miktsas ashma. In the third category of the shogeg, you have a partial guilt. Miditzarech kapara, as we find when it comes to aveira, a person does a shogeg that he needs kapara. And the Ramban points this out in Chumash when he speaks about the whole matter of karbanos, because karbanos always pertain to the person that does something b'shogeg. You don't bring karbanos on something done b'mezid, purposeful. So he says from here you see that the shogeg too is culpable. Even the person that's unintentional is also culpable, is also responsible. There's different levels of responsibility of the shogeg. But the common theme is that the shogeg is not careful, either not knowing or not being careful to stay away from the chait. And there could be different degrees of not being careful. A person can be careless. A person can be more careful but not careful enough. But nevertheless, it needs kapara. So therefore, even when it comes to a shogeg, a person has to be aware that too is a chet. Moshe tzarich lahakir es hakaras hachet b'chol amkuso imhu me'ein zadom. Like a person has to recognize in the chet, in its depth, if this is something of being done in a purposeful way. Shehu be'azrayu de gili arayos de harag val yavar. You're speaking here about motzi zera levatel, a person that spills seed, is called abuzrayu de gili arayos. In the area of gili arayos, in the area of arayos, although not one of the specific arayos of the Torah, but it's in that area that so much so that there would be a command of Yahareg Val Yavar. That person would have to be killed before doing it. The Zohar writes, Isa Shlomo al Zat Shuva. The Zohar writes very, very strongly in the area of Hotzah Zera Levatala, spilling seed. The Zohar says that tshuva does not help. The Baal Tanya explains that the Zohar doesn't mean tshuva doesn't help at all. I mean, a certain level of tshuva doesn't help. But the person would need a very great madrega of tshuva to bring about a complete kapara for this avera. But certainly there is a tikkun. There's a tikkun for this avera.
This avera.
Remez is a remez. Kamokein tzarich leschazik im hadavar na'asem mitoch on anus gomer. Same thing, a person has to strengthen himself if this came about through a complete anus, not their control. She'ein bo ta'arov zadon, doesn't have any element of the purposeful, being on purpose. V'im ki afilu ba'onas, even though something is done ba'onas, na'aseh pigam b'nefesh ruach u'neshama, nevertheless it's done. It does create a blemish, and therefore Rav Nachman was very serious in this area and prescribed that a person should use the mikvah. The mikvah brings tahara. And even though a person is not doing it with intention, nevertheless there is an effect on the neshama. But lo yipol berucha, a person should not allow himself to fall in the spirit. Ki yim yischazik b'Hashem. A person should strengthen himself in Hashem. Yivakesh mi'ito rachamim, and seek out Hashem's compassion. Sheyishmireu me'ata shlo yikasha. We should guard him from stumbling. In other words, this is always this sort of simultaneous avoda when it comes to yesod. In that, while at the same time a person has to give it a very serious approach in the carefulness, when it happens, a person can't allow himself to fall into despair, because despair drives the person really away from Hashem. It can happen in different ways. Sometimes it happens in a way that's sort of person gives the message to himself that whatever, anyway, a pagam happens, so damage happens, so I'm already distant, so I don't have to be as careful. I don't have to try as hard, and I don't have to really put forth the effort, because already there's a divide. That is being nofel baruch, sort of falling in despair, and drives a person further away from Hashem. So when it does happen, a person has to be mischazik himself in Hashem. That's okay. So he'll be careful and he'll ask Hashem to give him protection. A person should be careful not to allow the Yetzer to fulfill his plot. To cut his wings of the spiritual, to cause himself to fall in depression and in despair. So the outcome of taking it very serious is that any sort of falling that the person has leads the person to a feeling of despair. That, in a sense, also is the plot of the Yetzer. And that once a person's in that situation, in that thinking, so then they're more likely to come to the next Aveira. So here's where a person has to sort of use the other part of the service, and that is that a person can never fall into despair, and the person never far from Hashem, whatever it is. And Hashem is with him and wants him to have chizuk, to strengthen himself. So therefore he'll stand up and continue to go on. But this is the main avoda, and that is that a place where a person can make an error between that which is done on purpose and that which is beyond his control. And that is the area of the shogeg, the unintentional, that has the elements of being done on purpose. Sometimes it's actually very close to the purpose, being done on purpose. How is that? Shahaya alav lisrachek mikol davar shel kiur umin adomalo. A person is to distance himself from everything disgusting and anything like it. And here we have a teaching from Chazal. It says, harchik min akir, to distance oneself from kir. And this area is probably the most relevant in this subject, because no one that's serious in Avodas Hashem wants to do an avera like this on purpose. But when you're in the proximity of chait, so then all sorts of things can happen in a slower fashion that brings the person closer to avera. Right, so this is especially true with technology or being on the internet. And a person doesn't want to do an avera on purpose, but is in the area of chait. And then once you're in the area of chait, then a person begins to, in a sense, permit that which they saw, or at least say to themselves, that's not really such a big deal, or that doesn't really affect me, it doesn't bother me. So what happens is they just allowed a degree of that which is asur into their mind. So it's been okayed, because it's not mamish, arayas. Let's say it's not mamish pornography, so therefore it's okay. And also it doesn't really bother me, and also it's sort of there with what I'm doing, and it's sort of out there, and it's part of viewing what I'm viewing. When that happens, though, the person has then allowed that degree of erva to be okayed, and then also to kosher it by saying, well, it doesn't really affect me. In other words, that doesn't really get me going. It doesn't really bother me. It doesn't really affect me. It doesn't really change who I am. And that allowance is part of the Yetzir's angle in this avera, especially in the area of the shogeg. And the dulling that can occur of the hergish, a feeling that we can have in Kedusha, begins to happen, because the hiskashus, where we're bound up, or connected to, has just been toward the Avera. So that's really a primary area of carefulness that a person has to have. It's the shogeg. They don't mean to do the Avera, but they're in the proximity of chait. And the proximity of chait begins to allow in degrees all sorts of things. So therefore we have the teaching of Chazal, harchik min akir, to stay away from that which is disgusting. And you have, we saw earlier, we have directions from Chazal. The person has their own shmir, their own guardians of where they're at and what they know to be proper for them. To distance oneself from anything that can bring them to blemish. Similarly, a person also has to have a clarity in cheshbon nefesh. So the Rebbe is emphasizing the midah of behirus, to stay clear of these things. This is where areas get fuzzy. Once a person begins to allow things, then their whole thinking becomes very, very blurred in the area. And so whatever happens, a person always has to return to behirus, clarity. What's okay and what's not okay. Not what I've okayed, but what's really okay. And one area is cheshbon nefesh. Ha-cheshbon shekodem achet, va-cheshbon she'achar achet. There's two types of cheshbon nefesh. One's the cheshbon that precedes the avera. There's the cheshbon, the calculation, the thinking that follows avera. Imu kodem achet. So let's take the cheshbon that's prior to chet. Be'esha ha-yetzar mizgaber alav. When a person's yetzer begins to overwhelm him. So the Rebbe says, "Az alav l'eschazik be'amuna." Person has to strengthen himself in amuna. Ki abor yizbarach yodea kol ma'aseh b'nei adam. That Hashem Yizbarach knows all the actions of man. V'chol machshavosem, all their thoughts. V'chi hu ma'anish lo'ovrei mitzvosav, and Hashem will punish, give an onesh to all who break His mitzvos. V'ye'orer yiras Hashem, yiras ha'onesh v'yiras ha'romos. He has to awaken his yiras Hashem, the different types. Yiras ha'onesh, know that Hashem sees everything and therefore gives consequence for it. Yiras ha'romos, the exaltedness of Hashem. In other words, that yiras Hashem is a real part of a person's being, and that a person can find themselves awakening that midah that's part of them in a time of Nisayon. Amar Maran Beis Avram, was the chassidic Aleinu. Beis Avram said in the pasuk in Mishlei, Isha yiras Hashem. It says a woman that's God-fearing. That's what the pasuk says. So the Beis Avram said like this: L'taivos ein eitza ela yiras Hashem. For taiva, the only eitzah, the only advice is yiras Hashem. So he translated like this: Isha, when it comes to a woman, in other words, taiva, yiras Hashem. The person has to use yiras Hashem. Notice, if yiras Hashem is just like a topic, it's a subject that a person knows about, then there's very little bearing on themselves, and certainly when it comes to Nisayon. But if yiras Hashem is something that's part of what a person is really trying to bring forth from their nefesh, then that's the proper midah to try to awaken when it comes to chet. Because other middos might not be available to the person. But if a person at least knows and has conditioned themselves not to make a compromise, but yiras Hashem, Hashem is knows, sees, and understands what a man does in his thoughts, and brings onesh for it, so Hashem is watching. This is what we see from Yosef Atzadik. And Yosef says, in his time of test, to Potiphar, he spoke to himself, yiras Hashem. That was Yosef speaking to himself. How can I do this great chet and sin to Hashem? And Yosef was speaking to himself matters, words of yiras Hashem. When it comes to midah of love, so it's possible a person will fall to other ahavos, or we can maybe say more simply on our level is that he's already taken. Saying his ahav is already taken. He's drawn to something. That's not going to work for him. But a person can find within himself yiras Hashem. Divrei Shmuel writes, "Shemafarish Ilas Yaakov Avinu Eliezer Hamanashe Ephraim." He explains the question when Yaakov asked Yosef about his sons. Mi'ela, who are these? So the Divrei Shmuel says, "Shehim Osios Elokim." The words Mi'ela are the letters Elokim in different order. Mi'ela is Elokim. Aleph Lamed Yud Mem Hey. Sheim Osios Elokim Amor Al Midas Hayira, which teaches about the midah of Yira. The Shem Elokim is the Shem of Yira. Hainu Sheshal. In other words, Yaakov was asking, Lama Avodah Samrak Midas Hayira. Why is it that their service is only in Yira? Why are these children that you raise? I see that they have just Yiras Elokim. Why is that? Where's the other midas? Yosef said, Banahim. They're my children. Asher nasan li elokim bazeh. That Hashem gave me in this. Hainu, in other words, shehim noldu b'makom tuma kazeh. They were born in an atmosphere of tuma. Ve'ein ofen acher eich lachni ha'taivos rak ede yiras Hashem. There is no other way to subdue the taivos except through yiras Hashem. So therefore, they're born into this. The way to subdue the taivos is through yiras Hashem. Umarana Saba Kadisha Misanam Zuchos Yagalino Amar. Saba Kadisha of Sanam would say, Kira Yavshar La'akor B'sichlios. You can't uproot Ra with using the rational mind. In other words, the Ra is not hitting the person at the point of their thinking. It's hitting them in the point of their taivos. The way to do it is through making an effort and through trying to awaken Yiras Hashem. And the word uses hisoros. Now, hisoros means an awakening of a midah. In other words, if we're working on a midah, so then that midah is part of us. Only at a time of a test, it's not really awakened. It's not part of the conscious person. If a person is working on this midah, then they could awaken the midah, and the midah could be alive for them. Well, be it very hard, difficult, they can arouse that midah within themselves, and it could be a midah that they can live with, and they could think about, and it could be on a level sparring with the taiva. Ki is din v'izdayin yiras Hashem, which comes down to sort of a very simple thought that there's a judge and there's a judgment. That a person is aware that Hashem is the judge and there's a judgment for everything. So that's the cheshbon hanefesh, the sort of the thinking that a person can use before chet. V'yesh cheshbon shalachar chet, and there's also a cheshbon, a thinking, a process of thought that could occur after chet. Shegam az al yisiyayish, the main thing, the cheshbon after a chet, is not to give in to despair. Because that's the sort of that's the Yetzir's midah after the chet. Right? In other words, I saw it differently. He said like this. First the Yetzir before the Aver says, it's no big deal. And after the chet, he says, oh, it's such a big deal. So we go the other way. Right? See, no, before the chet, it's a very big deal. After the chet, okay. This is where the person has to strengthen himself. You have to use the right midah in the right time. Right? Before the Avera, that a person takes it in a serious way, and after the Avera, a person is mechazik themselves. Okay, it happened. Let me strengthen myself to be stronger. That's the whole chachma, like Avodah Hashem, like teaching ourselves how to use the right midah, the right voice, at the right time. When's a time to use what voice? There's certainly never a time for despair, and there's never a voice for despair. That sort of voice doesn't have a place. There's a voice for taking something serious, and there's a voice for tshuva, but the voice of despair is just a voice of the Yetzer. And the voice after the chet is chizuk. The person has to give himself strength and encouragement. That's the voice that the person needs. And to believe in Hashem's rachamim, shabal yidach v'men nidach, that no person, as far as they are pushed away from Hashem. And therefore, you're still in it. You still have a kashrus, a connection to Hashem. And don't walk away to give yourself the message that barriers are already been created and it's not the same thing anymore. Maran Baal Divrei Shmuel said this beautiful explanation on what we say in Kedusha. He says, the crown we give to you, Hashem our God, Malachim Monimala, angels upon high. Im Amcha Yisrael, with your nation Israel, Kvutzei Mata, a gathering below. B'tzak, the Divrei Shmuel cried out, B'kolos, with a great sound, great voice, Afilu Elu Shei Mata Mata Mata, even those who are mamish below, really, really down. Gam Heim Yitnu L'cha Keser, they too are giving you the crown. Im Hamalachim Monimala, with the king, with the angels who are above. V'hine, and he would say like this, Keser Osios Kares. Keser, the crown, is the same letters as Kares. Right, being cut off. The most severe ruchniistic punishment possible, that the neshama is mamish like detached from its source. Shafi luim nafluad shal tachtis, even if a person falls into the great abyss, Rachmana litzlan, asur lahem lehisyayish, they can never, it's forbidden for them to give up hope. Hashem yisbarach mekabetz nidchei amo Yisrael, Hashem gathers in the nidchei amo Yisrael. So usually when we explain that, people are far away. Right? Nidach, we think, Hashem will gather people in from however far they are away geographically. Nidach means someone that's really far in ruchnius, and they've even, in a sense, cut themselves off. No, there's no such thing. Even that person is mekabetz nidchei amo Yisrael. Hashem gathers in the nidach, the person that their neshama was cut off. Heichen gam lahem mazor trufa. Hashem prepares for them a medicine, a healing potion. Kamavor lahalan. So, a neshama always is shayach to tshuva, some way. Hashem finds a way. Ki lo yidach mimenu nidach. No person, as distant as they are pushed away. And therefore there's always encouragement. Certainly someone that stumbled in a situation where it was beyond their control, al yipol b'libam, they should not fall in their spirits. V'yedu, they should know ki im adam mikadesh atzmo momata, if a person will bring kedusha upon himself from below. Hainu means like this: kamoshe l'magas, however much you can. Every person in a situation, whatever you could do. And a Kadosh Baruch Hu knows what's considered an onus. It's beyond the person's control. But a person does what they can do. Kadosh Baruch Hu mekadosh osam umala, Hashem will sanctify you from above. And in yanim she'ein yad adam agas l'sham, in a place where a person can't reach. That which Hashem knows is really beyond the person. Hashem will help you. A person has to be able to say, this much I can do, this is in my control. And to set up the proper boundaries. That is in the person's control, that a person has to do. Whatever is beyond their control, that's already an onus. And if a person puts up the proper boundaries and puts in the proper effort, then Hashem will also give them control on those things they don't really have control over. Hashem will bring that into their ability. Okay, let's begin Dalet. V'hine ikra hashmira b'inyanim elu hi ha'akara b'godel malas kedushas Yehudi. So one of the main ways of shmira in the manners of kedusha is that a person has a proper hakara, a recognition in the greatness of the kedusha of a yid. Shulchelek Elokam Imam. That is mamish of Hashem. The neshama is of Hashem. Ukedusha El Yona Chofefes Al Mahusa. And a heavenly kedusha hovers on his being. Imrak Einu Pogem B'Kedushasa. If he will only not damage his kedusha. She'az hashchina hakadosha mistalekas imenu. Then Hashem's divine presence will be removed from him. Ukomoshin etztavinu, as we're commanded, v'atem tiyuli mamlechas kohanim v'goy kadosh. You will be to me a kingdom of kohanim and a holy people. So this is a matter of hisbonenus. A person begins to think, what is the person? And the person has to realize that the neshama is being part of the being of the person is a chelek elokam ima, is of Hashem, and can bring about Hashem's resting on the person. And through his bonus, the thinking and the deepening one's thought, in what is the person, what do they really have in themselves, will bring the proper sensitivity to the matters of kedusha. It's not like, well, whatever. Whatever it is. Person has the capacity for the Shekhinah to rest on him, to have kirvas alakim, closeness to Hashem, and there is of Hashem in the person. And that's who the person is. And that could provide a shmira, a proper understanding of the person can provide a shmira for the person, guarding himself from chait. V'kochel shel Yehudi lios kadosh. It's in the power of a Jew to be kadosh. Mitzad ki ani Hashem l'keichem, because I am Hashem your God. It's personal to you. Lamros shu b'guf achar. Although a person might be in a body that's dark, v'hein ba'avon chalalti v'cheit echamas ne'imi, and that I'm hollowed out into avera, was born, there's a tendency toward avera, toward chet. Nevertheless, there is a neshama. Al yidei ha'akara b'chol ha'amkos b'godel ha'osher hazeh, through a recognition in the depth of this this richness that we have. Yodea ma shemafsid al yidei miloi eiza taiva shvela bahamas. You can know what you're lacking, what you're missing, through filling up on a lowly taiva. So that is a bonus. That thinking it will cause a person to realize what they can gain and what they lose when they fill the taiva in a lowly way. And that when they're shoma themselves, when they keep themselves from that chait, then they'll have a hergish, a feeling in the Torah, in the mitzvahs. They'll actually have that feeling because they've guarded themselves from being expressed in a way that will bring their hiskashrus, their place of being bound up in something else. And therefore they will find a chiyus, a point of being alive and vitality in Hashem. V'az bevadai lo yimkor as habini b'chor Yisrael tamrus Nesivos Hashem. And then certainly the person will not so easily sell away that my firstborn Israel for a pot of lentils. And so the deeper the person has that his bonus, you don't sell away something precious for nothing. Okay. Dee-dee-dum, da 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 dee-dee-dum, da 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 dee-dee-da da 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 dee-da da 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 dee-da da 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 dee-dee-da dee-da da 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 dee-da da 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 la la la